Hi, and welcome to another episode of Hot Takes with me, the Silver Fox. How far have the Greens gone? Well, it seems too far. Their very first MSP, Robin Harper, has decided that their unthinking obsession with independence and their extremist views on the economy, because everything has got to be geared through the ecological point of view, has gone way too far for him, and he's quitting. Their first MSP quits because they are absolute lunatics now. And of course they are. When anything is ever driven to extremes, the fringe extremes take over, common sense is thrown out the window, intelligence goes by way of ideology. Even to a point where Patrick Harvey is going to ban hydrogen boilers because he deems them to be carbon emitting. When you burn hydrogen, the only waste product is fresh water. It goes to show the man is a moron. And I will be doing a story on that later. Although, I will be doing it from Torquay. We're away for a few days, my wife's birthday. So I will be doing a few videos, but it'll be a different background. And it'll be a slightly different format because I don't have necessary software on my laptop that's coming with us. But it'll be, the stories will be there. It's just in a very slightly different format for the next 2 days. Sunday, normal service will be resumed. Anyway, we'll have a look at this piece here to see why Robin Harper thinks that the SNP and the Greens, more particularly the Greens, have gone far too far and that he has to pack his bags and run for the hills. Here goes. So Robin Harper blasts the Greens' Skexit obsession as he calls on a renewed United Kingdom. So this is a Green MSP who is not an independent MSP. He is a unionist. And he says that the Greens shouldn't be hitching their wagon to the very sad horse of the SNP. Because, of course, with the SNP being extremists, this extremism has spread like cancer into the SNP. To such a point that intelligence has gone by way of ideology, and that they're so inefficient, they're so stupid now because of this obsession they have, that there is no thought, no critical thinking going in to any aspect of what they do, which is why every single policy has failed. Now, if they are supposed to be a Green Party, environmentally friendly, what the hell's that got to do with gender recognition? They wanted that. What's it got to do with the independence of Scotland? And yet they wanting that. These aren't ecological issues. Anyway, the party's first ever MSP has ditched the party over its trans rights stance, stating it's lost the plot, and now says the Hollywood Party has the wrong idea over independence. And of course we've been saying that for a long time. Robin Harper has ditched his membership of the Scottish Greens after taking issue with their support for controversial trans rights policies and their polarising support for independence. So you're going to have a lot of people who are ecologically minded but will not vote for the Greens because they don't want independence. Or you've got people who who are independence minded but can't possibly vote for the Greens because they don't want transgenderism and this, that, and the other. They don't want the extremes for what they are doing. And of course, I did the thing yesterday where Scotland's children are now basically bait for anyone who wants to abuse them and basically push them down a one-way street to sterility. Where GPs will be handing out hormone-changing drugs, willy-nilly, no pun intended, just simply to appease the trans lobby, the lobby filled with predators and the mentally ill. And they're after your children, and they're coming. And nobody has the balls to stand up and say no. So you need to address that. Have a watch of that video. Honestly, if you've got children, it will frighten you. Anyway, speaking to the BBC, the party's first ever MSP said leadership duo Patrick Harvey and Lorna Slater have forgotten about the centre of British politics, of Scottish politics, and he no longer has faith in their environmental efforts. I have no faith in those two because they're both morons, and we've shown it time and time again. And all they can do is the same as the SNP. It's Westminster's fault. And we saw yesterday that the DRS failure was not Westminster's fault, it was directly their fault. They can blame Westminster, but they were only blaming Westminster because they knew that it was actually their fault and they didn't want to draw attention to it. And that's why they cancelled it. They could have gone ahead with it, absolutely, but to do so would have admitting that they got something wrong and they had to correct it. And of course, they never get anything wrong because they're fucking morons. He said, what I'm most worried about is this support for independence. We've had this sterile debate that's been going on for about 30 years as to whether Scotland should be independent or not, and we've got nowhere with it. This follows the publication of a letter published by The Times where he wrote that the party has lost the plot, adding concern that his former political home had been damaged by its failure to cooperate meaningfully with other interests, including the Westminster government. His most recent interviews have revealed his support for Scottish Labour, in particular reforms put forward by Gordon Brown. He told listeners, instead of dividing Scotland, I think we need to take a look at what we're really looking at in terms of independence. And of course, what they're looking for is, they want independence, and yet the majority of Scots, not only the majority of Scots don't want independence, the majority of SNP voters don't want independence. So it's never going to happen. So why this constant harping on about it, about something which is never going to happen? He said the answer is a better constitution where our rights and freedoms are better protected. He said the former Scottish First Minister, Mr Brown, has come up with wonderful new ideas and has cited belief that the House of Lords needs to be reformed. And this is one of those very rare occasions when I think Gordon Brown has got it right. In fact, I think the House of Lords in its current form needs to change massively. And what my suggestion is brilliant. I think it's brilliant. And that is, you have the 300, you haven't met how many Lords there are. You have a vote, 300 Lords. You have 300 Lords, and they start day one today. When they die, they're each assigned, by the way, a constituency. Not the same constituencies as MPs. Much larger constituencies, because they're not there to generate law. So you have 300 Lords in these large constituencies. And what happens is this. Day one, they go. They are allowed 5 years, one term. They may get voted in again by the people for a second 2-year term. But that's it. And then, if any of them die during that period, they have the by-election, but you don't have a general election for the Lords. The Lords sit, and as one carks it or retires or resigns or whatever, the by-election at that point, and then the clock starts on that new one, and he gets his first 5 years plus a 2-year extension should the people vote him in. And by doing it with the current Lords, you're getting the current experience and how things are done there, but you slowly, over time, take them out. And of course, every time any of them go or whatever, it's then a vote in, elected in. And over time, over a maximum of 7 years, every house, every Lord, every seat in the Lords will have changed. Now, you can still give the political rewards. We'll make him a Lord, Lord Harvey or whatever. Never going to happen, is it? But you have that. But they're not allowed to sit in the House of Lords unless they are elected to the House of Lords. But you don't call it the House of Lords, you call it the Upper Chamber, you call it the Britain's Senate, perhaps. They're not there to generate laws. They're there to do the checks and balances from the House of Commons. But they're voted in. And that gives more democracy. And because they're not voted in on a general election, there's more of a mix. There's less extremism, things like that. And so I think it would be a better house. And so, yes, Gordon Brown has got it right. And he's calling for an elected upper assembly. Quite right, too. Anyway, that's an aside, and we'll get back to it here because we're nearly finished off. Mr Harper said his view that the Scottish Green Party has gone too far is reinforced by the huge number of friends, acquaintances and random contacts who've expressed an opinion that the Scottish Green Party has lost the plot. Also in his letter he states, I am aware that former colleagues and friends in the SGP may be sorry and even offended by my decision to resign from the party, and I apologise for not attempting to speak up within the party before coming to this decision. Speaking to the Daily Record, he said he found the debate on the Constitution sterile and claimed independence in the current climate would be a nightmare. A spokesman for the Scottish Greens said, we thank Robin for what he's done, both within Parliament and as the first ever Scottish Green MSP, and outside it as a tireless advocate for the environment. And then they're just saying nice things for him. But he is right. It's gone too far. It's extreme. He actually strikes me, and when you actually, I looked back at the sort of the things, his viewpoints and his things and that, and he actually just strikes me as a fairly okay guy. He's not extreme. He's not mad. He's not calling for punishing people for daring to do this, that, and the other. He wants to educate, not enforce. And that's, that's how you get things done. Yeah. More carrot, less stick, basically. So, yeah, wish him well, future ventures. It's nice to see that there is someone in the Greens who's not a raging lunatic. Although he's not in the Greens anymore. Anyway, I shall stop there, come up, and we'll round off the video. I think Robin Harper has highlighted two very important issues. One, the absolute extremism of the Greens now. There is no middle ground. There is no meeting point. It's our way or the highway. They have to have this, and they have to be harsher and harsher and harsher. And of course, they're alienating people every time they open their mouths, because they've got the two people at the top. One is a poisonous little dwarf who is so full of himself and up his own arse that his ideas are right, and he'll brook no argument. And the other, of course, is an absolute moron who gets everything wrong. It's the leprechaun and the giraffe, and they're just unbelievably obsessed with their own self-image, their own egos, that they fail to understand that 99.9% of people in Scotland disagree with them vehemently on every single issue. If ever they're one of those that if ever they walk in a room, they can't read the room, and they will say the worst possible thing to the wrong people every time. I'm surprised Harvey hasn't been physically assaulted. Basically, he's such an obnoxious little shit. And as for the giraffe, she can piss off back to Canada. Only Canada don't want her either. Anyway, that's how it is. I shall stop. Thank you very much for watching. We wish our best wishes to Robin Harper. Go and do something nice for the rest of your life. And if you like what you see here on the channel, do please hit the subscribe button, ring the bell, leave a like, leave a comment, please share the video. And until next time, from Torquay, remember, stay well, stay safe, and remember, if you vote them out, you don't have to put up with their shit. Bye.